Good morning everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa. If you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia, and this December we are attempting daily videos of all the things that we love to eat around Christmas time and some other bits and pieces for the month of December, rather than worrying about trying to cram everything we want to eat in for just the week of Christmas. We're going to do it the whole of December and enjoy every last bit of it. So now there is going to be some other videos intertwined in here, not just desserts, but there is a lot of desserts. But today, what I'm going to do to start with, sometimes I do more than one thing in a day and I try and break them up into different videos to see how I go, and that gives me a bit of time to not spend in the kitchen every day, but we shall see how we go as usual. But what I am going to start with today is not a sweet, because we've got a bunch of sweets in the fridge that we're still eating through at the moment, and I have seen on YouTube and various other places, not that I watch a lot of YouTube or I don't really use TikTok, and I don't, but it still passes my purview, that there is a viral doner kebab style meat that is being done at the moment, and I'm going to give it a go with some chicken. Now I have a tray of chicken thighs, skinless, boneless chicken thighs that were in the freezer, that were bought from Costco, and I think it was the shopping trip before last. I think they've been in the freezer for a couple of months now, because we've had the ones from the bulk meat with the skin on, and they're the ones we've been eating. So I have this tray of thighs, and I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to try it. So we are going to try doing the viral doner meat in chicken, and I'm going to make some flatbreads, and we're going to have those for lunch today. And then we'll see what else I manage to get done. I would like to get a couple of other things done today if possible, but I'm not going to push myself, so we will see. I do have a bunch of orders to package up to go to the post office first thing tomorrow as well. Mercury is getting desexed tomorrow, the last kitten that we rescued, so she is off to be desexed tomorrow, and Darryl is going to be out of the house for a while for that, so he can take the post with him. So I need to get that done this afternoon, this evening, so that he can take it first thing. So I do need to get that done. But first up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my mincer out, because these are based on chicken mince and I don't have any chicken mince. I could probably run it through the Thermomix, mince it up in the Thermomix, but it just isn't quite the same texture. So I'm going to pull my mincer out. I have a mincer, so I may as well use it. And yeah, we will go from there. So let me get that all sorted first. Alright, so I have my Louvel mincer put together, which is the mincer that I own, and every time I use it I mention that I love it. It's a fairly low wattage device, which is perfect for our running it off the inverter and stuff like that, but it still grinds at about a kilo a minute. It's perfect, it's very efficient, comes with some great different blade sizes, mincing plate sizes and things like that, and the customer service was fantastic. So I do have an affiliate link in the description if you're interested in one. Highly recommend them. Alright, so I've got about 2 kilos of chicken thighs here. All I'm going to do is just cut them into some smaller pieces to go through the mincer, so that we can do it all at once. They're still a little bit icy, which is actually beneficial for going through the mincer, because it keeps the texture a little bit better. Rather than mushing it through the blades and the mincer, it cuts it, so that will work well. So let me just get this cut up. Alright, so we've got it all diced up into small enough portions to run through the mincer, and now I'm just going to do that. Right, so that is minced up. Now, it's probably a finer grind than I would actually prefer, because I used a smaller grinding plate and I should have used a larger one, but it is what it is. So the first thing we're going to add to this is they mince up an entire onion into a paste and add it to it, which helps to tenderize the meat. So we're going to cut up an onion, and I'll use my Thermomix to mince one to a paste, and we'll mix it through, and then we'll add some seasonings. So I'm just going to put a whole onion in the Thermomix and puree it up. I actually ended up adding an extra onion because for the capacity of the Thermomix and how fine I wanted it, it just needed a bit more. Now, I've got 2 kilos of meat here, so it's probably actually fine to add all this. I could freeze some of it and use it for something else, but I'm just gonna add it all because it is 2 kilos of meat, and that was just 2 fairly small onions. So we got them into a paste like this, and we're going to massage this through this chicken, which will help to tenderize the chicken, acid in the onion, also give it flavor, of course. So moisture, all of that. So we're going to tenderize that, and then I'm going to wash my hands and grab out some spices. There was lots of variations online, lots of different choices. I'm going to spice it the same way that I normally spice my meat. Sweet paprika and garlic powder and things like that. So that's what I'm going to grab. Alright, smoked paprika. I'm not going to measure. I am going to go by eye, which is what I normally do, and by the colour of the meat at the end. So we're going to do a bit of a spread, about half the same of the garlic. I'm going to put a tiny bit of the chicken bouillon in here as well, just to bump the umami flavours, just like that. And as I said, there's heaps of recipes around, so if you want to find a specific recipe, there is heaps of them around. I might add something in the way of a green as well. Maybe some thyme would work well with this one. So I'll just put a bit of green in there as well. And I was thinking maybe a little bit of sumac would be nice. So that little bit of a citrusy flavour to it as well. So just a sprinkle of that too. And then I'm just going to massage it through and get all the seasoning mixed, and then I'll have a look and see it might not be enough for that 2 kilos what I just added. We might want a bit more, because though we can always season it afterwards too. That's the thing too. Might leave it at that. It's got a bit of a pink tinge from the smoked paprika, and we can always season it afterwards. I don't want to too heavily season the meat initially. So now I'm going to get my baking paper and everything ready to go, preheat my oven, get a baking tray, and then I'll bring you back and we'll do the next step and see how we go. Alright, so we're using our baking paper, our fancy baking paper. I'm going to put a heaped cup to start with. A lot of them had about 200 grams per sheet. Heaped cup should be approximately that, if I'm not, going to the effort of weighing it. And then we're going to roll it out really nice and thin between 2 sheets. And as if I overflow out the edges, I'm just going to add it back into pieces where it's not quite the same amount. And we're going to try and get it as thin as possible without leaving gaps. But also as even as possible for cooking purposes. We want it to be cooking evenly, so we need everything to be consistent. So we're going to spread it out. Like this. Now, I think it went a bit thin right in the middle. So just going to get it as even as possible, like that. Now, I don't recall whether they left both sheets on it when they rolled it up, or if they took the top one off and then rolled it, but mine's not coming off the easiest. I suppose it's okay. A fair bit of meat sticking to it though.
So I might have a quick look. I'll have to do a quick Google to find some videos of it and see, but I'm thinking that I might need to leave both sheets on. I'm not sure. Honestly, there's so many variations of it. I feel like it wouldn't hurt to leave the extra piece there, but I also feel like it's a lot of baking paper being used. So let's see how we go. If I use that for the next one and we just roll this one up nice and firm like this, and then we have our roll of doner kebab meat. So we'll give it a go. We'll grab another one. I don't really want to add any more oil to the meat because the whole point of using the thigh meat was that it was nice and fatty and stuff on its own, so it doesn't need it. So I don't really want to grease the baking paper either. So we will just work with what we've got. We'll spread this out a bit. Not pressing too hard because I went through the meat on the last one when I pressed a little hard. So we want to spread it without pushing too hard on the meat in general, and spread it outwards as well. And collect up any that has overshot the paper, tuck it back in. I have to sanitize my whole bench after this one. So we're just nice and thin, spread out. And then we're going to cook it for about 20 minutes at about 200. We will see how it goes. And then most people then tip it out of all the paper and throw it back under, like they broil it or whatever. I don't have a top element in my oven. I've seen people do it on a fry pan as well to crisp it up, so we might have a look at what it looks like, and if we need to then we will. But once I get this in the oven, I will make up some flatbread dough as well to go with it. So that's the second one done. And let's see. Oh, it took the whole top part off there, off the paper. Let's try one with the both pieces and we'll see what the difference is when we pull it out. It might be a good way to make that call as to whether we leave both pieces or not. It definitely makes it easier to roll up and stuff. So there we go, and I'll just keep on going. Alright, I got 6 full-sized one and a smaller one. I'm going to throw these in the oven for, I said, about 20-25 minutes on 180 to 200, and we will see what it looks like. And I'm going to just spray and clean everything down while I do that, and then we're going to make flatbread dough. Alright, and we're just going to throw together my super simple flatbread recipe. I'm just going to use the Thermomix because I've got this bowl that had the onion in it. I've just rinsed it very slightly. And I'm just going to, because a little bit of onion flavour in the bread is not going to matter. So we've got 400 grams of water. We're going to add 10 to 20 grams of salt. I just used whatever was left in the bottom of my salt there. We're going to use 10, 15-ish grams of yeast. We're going to put in 10 to 20 grams of sugar. We just want to get this really nice and puffy. So the sugar helps feed the yeast. We're going to put in, alright, we're going to do 100 grams of olive oil or fat oil, butter of your choice. And then we're going to do 800 grams of bread flour. Alright, then we'll bring it together on speed 6 for just sort of, 10-20 seconds. Not even that, only needed 5, and that's just to bring it together into a bit of a ball. And then we're going to stick it on knead for 2 minutes. And then we've just got this rough brought together dough. It's a nice easy handle dough, and we're going to let it puff right up, and we will use it as flatbreads. It doesn't have to be anything special. It just needs to be brought together. You could knead it for longer if you wanted, of course. You could make it smoother, but honestly, it doesn't need it because we're making flatbreads out of it. So all I'm going to do is put this in a oiled container. And I'm just going to put it on the stove top at the moment because the oven's on cooking the chicken, and we'll just let it proof, and then I'll bring you back. All right, I did 25 minutes, checked it. I'm going to put it in for a little bit longer. My oven is the thermostat doesn't work very well, so we're just going on feel. Now, the dough, as I said, it doesn't have to be anything proofed any particular way. All you want is you want it really nice and malleable so that you can roll it out into flatbreads. So all I'm going to do is break chunks off. You can weigh them. I used to weigh them about 50 grams. I have become less likely to weigh them because, well, for a start, there's one less person in the house. So generally speaking, I don't need to make sure that there's a set amount of them. And Darryl doesn't eat them as well at the moment. So we generally have leftovers no matter what. So all I do is break off a ball, and then we're going to let these balls rest. By the time we break off the last one, and needs a couple of minutes, and the ones that we balled up first have relaxed again, ready to be rolled out. So just go through and break off balls. Just like that. These are a very forgiving product, and the added oil and everything just makes the dough so silky and easy to roll out however you want to roll them. You can roll them really nice and thin like tortillas, but that's not what this dough is really meant for. I have tortilla dough for that. These are more a thicker flatbread. I don't know how to explain it. You'll see when we do them. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a spruik of oil and cover them for 5 minutes, and then they'll be ready to roll out. All right, these look pretty good. There's plenty of juice in the bottom, so we're going to pour the juice out. We're going to try unrolling them into the tray and then throwing them back in the oven for a little bit and seeing if they crisp up. Otherwise, we can use it in a pan, but I'm going to get the flatbreads done in the meantime. So I'm just going to pour the excess juice and then we're going to attempt to unravel. And there we go. So now we just need to give it some colour to make it look a bit more appetising. But there's some bits that are coloured. Darryl's taste testing.
No, horrible.
Can he have the rest?
Yeah, I'll just take it before you see. You guys don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
It's horrendous. You need to make sure we don't lose the pain.
Yeah. Think about you guys. The trees died for this.
I know. So Darryl tested it, obviously. Yeah, I didn't over season it because I wasn't sure. So, can you pass me a pair of tongs, please? So most people, when they're colouring it, what they've done is they've just shredded it a little bit, just broken it up into its own little pieces, except no one can find tongs. So I'm just going to pick it up and let it fall into some pieces gently. And then I'm just going to throw it in the oven again, just to see if it'll colour up a little bit in the oven. But yeah, some people used a broiler for the oven, and we don't have a top element, so can do it in a fry pan instead if we think it needs a bit more colour. But other than aesthetics of it being not quite coloured, the pale bits are going to taste exactly the same. They're just not going to look as appealing. I did get some bits that are a bit thicker than others.
I'll just test this, see if it tastes the same to it.
But
And that's terrible as well.
yeah, terrible as well. So I'm just going to spread it out, throw it back in the oven for 10 minutes while I get the flatbreads done, and then we'll have it with the flatbreads. All right, and we'll start rolling out the flatbreads. So all we do, I like to be able to fit 4 across the 2 pans. So I tend to just roll them out sort of longish, because that way I can put 2 in each of the square pans, but you can roll them out into whatever shape you want. This is just happens to be, you could roll them into a triangle if you really wanted to go to that much effort, yes.
Okay. I feel like some cutting would be involved in that.
I'm not going to attempt it. So we just do 4 at a time across the 2 pans, and then fry them off. If you fry them off in a bit of oil or fat, you get some crispy bits on the outside. I really like that. But if you fry them off without the oil, they end up just a bit softer on the outside. So it depends on personal preference there too.
Mama, can you use some of this excess fat from the chicken?
That's water.
It's stock more than fat. There is a bit of fat in there, but most of it's stock, and they'll just boil in it. So we're going to fry these off in the cast iron, 4 at a time, and I'll bring you back once it's all done. This is what they look like first side. They bubble up nicely. There's a little bit of fat in the pan because it was chicken fat from last night, so these have a little bit of fat on them. And flip them over, and that's how they come out. There you go. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't want to cook it too much because I don't want to dry it out. So this is a good thing for me. It's not quite as anemic looking. There's some little crispier bits through it. I might mix it up so it gets a bit of the juices in it. I'll pour the rest of the juice out, and what I might do actually is I might do a baked risotto for dinner tonight, and I'll use this chicken stock for that. So that will be tasty. I've got the last 3 flatbreads just cooking, and then we've got all of these. So what I might do is I might leave it there, and I will take some photos and put them on the end like I have been doing with the other videos. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know if I'd go to that much effort again, honestly. I don't know if I would make it again. Depends on how tasty it is in the wraps and stuff. It's pretty good on its own, but at the same time, because it was a fair amount of effort, but we'll see. So yeah, this is the viral doner kebabs and my flatbreads, and yeah. My battery on my audio is almost out, so I don't know if this is going to work, but I just thought I'd share. I'm just going to make a quick garlic mayo. So we have fermented garlic cloves in honey, some Dijon mustard, half a lemon worth of lemon juice, and the egg yolks, and I'm just going to mix that up to have with this. We don't have anything in the way of salad at the moment. We've eaten all the salad. So we're just going to have some meat and cheese on the flatbreads with the lemon garlic mayo.